Beyond the Black Rainbow is a sci-fi thriller written and directed by Panos Cosmatos. The film centers around a girl with mysterious powers who's trapped and monitored inside of a strange and isolated research facility. With its strong abstract use of color and camera work, we are treated to a visual feast which at times feels overstimulating but fitting for the work at hand. We primarily cut between two characters, Elena, the girl trapped in the facility, and Barry, a scientist involved with researching and tormenting Elena. We meet several other characters briefly over the course of the film, but the primary conflict is a struggle between Elena's wish to escape and Barry's struggle to keep her at the facility. The film, at nearly 2 hours long, is most certainly not for everybody. It does a heavy amount of showing instead of telling and invites the audience to piece together the world surrounding the characters on screen and to fill in the gaps on their own. I especially love the way that this movie tells its story, and in my opinion it feels like a dark fairy tale crossed with a sci-fi thriller. Everything leading up to the climax of the film is simply character building for Elena and Barry. There's very little dialogue and we're shown many close-ups of their faces. Both actors do an incredible job of showing their personalities without explicitly stating them, which is greatly appreciated when compared to so many other films that feel as though they have to explain all of the characters' motivations to the audience instead of letting them figure it out for themselves. The cinematography throughout the first half of the film is isolating and hopeless. We feel just as trapped and confused as Elena, and we aren't shown much of the research facility save for close-ups of a control room, some hallways, and Elena's room, which only has a door and a bed. Occasionally, a nurse will come in to check on Elena, and it's clear that she's just a regular employee of the facility that doesn't really like her job. This is a good example of the world building I had mentioned previously. It shows that even though we're stuck in this creepy, isolated research station, there are still people with normal jobs that are just there to earn a paycheck. As we approach the climax, we get more and more glimpses of Elena's powers and Barry's intentions. When we finally reach the major turning point of the film, there's a particular sequence that is so incredibly abstract and weird that I felt almost forced to piece things together instead of just simply taking it in. The film does an incredible job of giving you these little slivers of a story and asking you to piece it all together in a way that makes the most sense to you, and I enjoyed that a lot. As we move into the second half, the pacing of the film and the balance between Elena and Barry shifts. What was an isolated snippet into another world suddenly transforms into an escape for survival. Things escalate on both sides until we reach the final standoff between Elena and Barry. Now, I won't spoil how the movie ends or go into too much more detail, but I definitely recommend watching it if you have a few hours and would like to try something a little different. As I mentioned, it relies heavily on visual storytelling to move the plot along and develop its characters, and I think it's a movie that you have to really see for yourself to piece together your own story and congruity. Before I'm finished, I would also like to touch briefly on the score and the set design. The score is absolutely incredible and fits this movie perfectly. Its heavy, droning synths pull you down and keep you trapped just like Elena, and similarly to the research station, it's almost ever present. Likewise, the set design is also brilliant. The film is set in the 80s and all the technology feels like it comes from the strange futuristic dreams of days long gone. It's not exactly dystopian, but almost authoritarian. The lighting helps push the abstract visuals and feelings of isolation even further, with heavy shadows, bright fluorescent lights, and blinking screens. The lab feels detached from the rest of reality, and I think it helps the film greatly. I would like to end by listing a few themes on the screen that you might find helpful when going to watch this film for the first or even secondary times. In conclusion, I think this film is simultaneously beautiful, vibrant, horrifying, and stimulating all at the same time. It's definitely not for everyone. It's a very slow burn that takes its time getting to where it wants to go and occasionally glosses over important beats that you may overlook or need to think back on later. Finally, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for everything that I mentioned before. Watch it with some friends if you have a few hours, and you'll have a great discussion afterwards. Thanks as always for watching my videos, and I hope to have you again for the next one. Have a great day.